make sure to follow us on Instagram at Whistlethrowers. It's a great way to interact with our show. Our DMs are always open for questions, topic discussions, and more. You will be able to find our new episodes and other announcements there.
There's just zero reason for people to watch the All-Star game anymore. All right, thanks for tuning back in the Whistlethrowers podcast. This is Jack Mubarak, joined by
Caitlyn.
And All-Star Weekend just ended. Very uneventful. My expectations were met. I want to finish with the three-point contest because that was the only net positive of this whole thing.
Agreed.
Not really much to talk about the skills challenge.
Nah, it's yeah.
Let's just move into the dunk contest. Mac McClung put on a show yet again, but everyone else was terrible, and especially Jaylen Brown.
Yep.
I think dunking over sitting 5'4" Kai Cenat was just like the sorriest attempt ever.
Mm-hmm. It really was. Out of all the people and celebrities and athletes and whatnot they've brought out to like jump over, even props too, because Blake Griffin jumped over a car. Like bringing out Kai Cenat on a chair is like, it's just like jumping over nothing pretty much.
Yeah.
Like, it really did nothing for me. And the fact that he didn't try to add any pizzazz to that dunk at all, it was pretty much just like a basic dunk that he jumped over Kai Cenat. It's like, I know he may have thought in the moment that it was going to be like a big thing, but that's not impressive for an NBA athlete in a dunk contest. And he wasn't trying to be disrespectful, but I think in a way he was disrespectful to the dunk contest. Like, the one thing I love about Mac McClung is everything's different, and he always is trying to incorporate new creative things into his dunks. Like when he did the one where he like tossed it and caught it and then dunked it to himself. Like that's a great dunk. And sure, it may not look all that impressive, but that is extremely impressive. And every time the dunk contest does the slow-mos of those dunks, every time it gets more and more impressive with each slow-mo. So it's pretty sad that with Jaylen Brown's, that got less and less impressive with each replay of that.
Yeah, and I thought Obi's brother, Jacob, was way better than him. I thought he should have advanced.
I actually would have said Jaime Jaquez, too, should have advanced. Not that he did anything great, but I thought he was better than Brown.
Yeah, they both were at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mac McClung is great. I think it's awesome they keep bringing him up.
Me too.
He's on the G League team for the Magic right now, so I don't think he'll be in the league this year maybe, but it's cool seeing him in the dunk contest.
Yeah, definitely.
Moving forward, we could talk about the actual All-Star game itself.
Yeah.
The East won like 213 to like 189, I think.
Yeah.
And I saw LeBron was asked about the competitiveness, and he said something needs to change.
Yep.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago during the Pro Bowl, but I mentioned I loved how the MLB like makes it so the whatever side wins gets the World Series home advantage, and they don't do that anymore, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
but
you're right.
I think in basketball it would make a lot of sense because there's just zero reason for people to watch the All-Star game anymore.
Yeah.
Because like no one's really even doing anything insane. It's just like everyone gets like 15 to 30 points. Like there's no cool moments like when Dwayne threw it up to LeBron one last time. Yeah. There's none of that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know I guess you could make it so that if the East or West are to win, you make them have home court advantage in the finals. Either way, I don't think it really fixes the problem. And I think the biggest problem is that All-Star games just aren't interesting anymore throughout most sports. I watched the baseball one occasionally, and I did tune into the NBA one just to see parts of it because I knew you were going to talk about it. But other than that, I don't really understand why we need an All-Star game. And frankly, if you want to make it competitive, save it for the end of the season when guys are going to be a little bit more willing to compete. Don't do it in the middle of the season when guys would much rather be on vacation than actually competing in a game that has no meaning at all.
Yeah, agreed. And just watching the game, I really want to agree with you, Jack, and everyone that's saying like make that incentive of the home court in the finals. And I think that I thought it was great in baseball. And obviously you can't really do it in football, but in basketball, I think I have to agree with Aiden on this one. I would love for them to do it and just see it one time because we have to see it before we actually start judging it. But I'm not sure if that really does much. Like Aiden said, these guys are looking for a vacation And that's how athletes are nowadays when they spend X amount of months straight playing and then you get that 1 week break. Like, I don't blame them at all for not really trying in the game and like wanting the vacation and wishing, like, honestly wishing that they weren't there in a way. Like, honestly, I think that the NBA low key should just move to something where they give the guys a break and you're just named to an all-star team. I don't think we really need to do this all-star game thing anymore, which obviously that's not going to happen. It just generates too much money for them to say we're not hosting an all-star game. But it's so pointless. I don't know if there is any fixing it. And I don't know if all-star games will ever be the same. Like,
yeah, I mean, I want to agree, like, when you guys say push it to the end of the year, but, like, the NFL does that, and it's still terrible.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, I don't know if that would be the fix for basketball, because, like you said, they don't really want to play the game, really, as you can see.
Yep.
I don't know. I think you should just try out, like, some incentive for the end of the season and see if that does anything, because, like, the regular season, like, the only two things I've liked that the NBA has done in the last however many years is the in-season tournament and the play-in tournament, because it added competitiveness.
Yeah.
And I think they just need to come up with something to kind of emulate that in the All-Star game, because it should be competitive, even a little bit.
Yeah,
like should. It's sad that the celebrity game is actually fun to watch, like over like the actual All-Star game.
Yeah, and I also think it's sad when you have these, like, the 3-point contest. I think draws more attention and like gravity than the actual All-Star game does. I think that's embarrassing for them, and that's the thing with MLB. Their home run derby is obviously a huge spectacle, but it still doesn't beat out the All-Star game. The All-Star game is the main event. But All-Star weekend in the NBA feels like the 3-point contest is the main event. And then they do the dunk contest. I turned it off. Like, I was at my friend's house. We watched the 3-point contest. We watched Curry versus Ionescu, which was A+ by the NBA. After that happened, we switched to the Flyers Winter Classic game because I had no interest in the dunk contest. I have no interest in it. I just don't. There's nothing that shocks me anymore. And I watched the one last year, and I loved Mac McClung, like almost revitalizing it in a way, but it's still not enough for me to sit there and watch it. It's just not.
Yeah, I just don't have any sort of feelings towards All-Star games one way or the other. Like, if they're on, I'll turn it on. And I mean, here's the other thing, too. The NBA, I don't know if they set it up, if other organizations felt like they couldn't compete against the NBA, because that was the only thing on last night.
Yeah.
There was no hockey on. The NCAA games were done by 8 o'clock. So that was the only thing on. And again, I don't know if the NBA was able to negotiate that. I mean, obviously with the Super Bowl, not to schedule anything against it because your ratings are going to suck. But I don't feel like that's the case with the NBA All-Star game. I think that you could put a college basketball game against it. I would rather watch the college basketball game.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the other thing, too, is that I don't do NBA, like, maybe I'm just really out of touch with NBA fans, but why are we pushing so hard for the All-Star game to be competitive? There's no, like, I'm not watching it for any other reason to see some guys that I sort of, like, play a little bit better, like, for the offense. That's the only reason why I would watch an All-Star game. If you want to make it more competitive, then why are we doing this? Like, you can just turn it off if you feel like it's not competitive enough. I don't know. I might not be making any sense. I just am so annoyed by everyone pushing this narrative that we need to make the All-Star game more exciting, when at the end of the day, it's just an All-Star game.
Yeah.
There's no problem with the league itself. It's just one meaningless game, and we're pushing so many different talking points that I feel like that's the bigger story than the game itself. And once it gets to that, then I just don't feel like the discourse is helping anyone.
Yeah, and to your point, too, like, NBA fans, I feel like, are the most polarizing in terms of, like, of certain subjects within their league, and I think that they're also the most sensitive and most offended fans, like, of all leagues. I think that NFL, MLB, even, like, international soccer fans, like, they always have level heads. They always respect their league. They always respect their players. And they don't jump to these wild, like, conclusions and accusations like you're saying, Aiden, because it is ridiculous. I mean, it's just a freaking All-Star game. And that's why I'm saying, let's just not do it at all so we don't have to talk about it, and we can just talk about the rosters, who deserved an all-star spot on that roster. That's all I care about. And I think that a lot of other leagues are that way. Like, in the NFL, being named an All-Pro or being named to the Pro Bowl team is better than sitting and watching the game. Like no one talks about the Pro Bowl. The NFL fans don't talk about the Pro Bowl the way that NBA fans talk about the All-Star game. And so when you bring this up, like I don't understand why all these people are creating these things. It's because they're sensitive and they're seeing their favorite players half-ass an All-Star game that they feel they're entitled to like 100% effort for. And I just can't agree with that. And that's why I've seen a lot of people blaming players and like calling them lazy and saying that they're disrespecting the fans not doing this. It's like you have to put yourselves in their shoes. They only get a week off the whole season. And I get they have an off season, but an off season isn't just vacations and drinking and partying. Like they work hard in the off season and then their season starts and they put everything into it and they get 1 week in the middle of the year to relax. I think that we should allow them to utilize that. Think about the NFL. Each team gets a bye week at some point during the year. They all get a 1 week off away from practicing, away from the games, away from all the pressure and emotion. Why don't we just allow this for NBA players? Because you're right. Like all these accusations on the NBA and the league itself because of an All-Star game is just ridiculous.
Or here's the other thing that you could do. I love what the NHL does with their 3-on-3.
Yeah.
You know it's not going to be competitive, but you get to see 3 guys per team plus your goalie. So technically 4 guys on the ice with 3 different teams competing against each other. Or it's 4 because each division gets a roster. Mm-hmm. So I feel like the NBA can do something similar where you have your top starters on one roster, your top 2 guys on another roster, and you do that 2 per conference. So you get 4 teams playing round robin. That would be more exciting to me than an actual game where nobody takes seriously. And if people want to say, oh, you wouldn't take the 5-on-5 tournament seriously either, of course not. But I'd rather see that than a bunch of guys playing one game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's a really, really good idea. And if you think about it, they could incorporate so many cool like scenarios on top of that. Like you could
do what the 3-on-3 tournament does and put in a 4-point line.
Mm-hmm. Make it half court.
Extra incentive.
Yeah. Make it half court so that these guys aren't wilding all over the place on a 94-foot court. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like you think about the NCAA has done games like on the Navy ships and like you could with this 3-on-3 idea, you could really like come up with some great venues. I'm thinking outdoor would be like insane. That would be really, really cool. Considering like Iowa women's basketball just played a game in their football stadium and sold it out. Like I think you would sell out something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's other ways to work around it. I just feel like that the entire discourse to me is insane.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So yeah, we could talk about the 3-point contest now. So the actual contest between like the only the NBA players was really good. Mm-hmm. Lillard repeated. Great showing. No one really had like a poor showing, which was good to see. Yeah. I do want to talk about the Ionescu versus Curry though, because that was really impressive.
Yep.
Like she was shooting at NBA distance, which is like 3 to 4 feet deeper than what she's used to shooting at. Mm-hmm. And she only scored 3 less points than Curry, which is just insane.
And she met the top scorer for the NBA guys in the regular contest there. Like, yeah, she was great. And I love that the collective agreement of all NBA fans was Sabrina went out and balled, and she showed that girls can compete with dudes on some things in basketball. Obviously, if you put them in the post, like that's not really fair. But shooting contests, dude, women can compete with men in shooting and things like that. Women are just as good as guys in a lot of things in basketball. So I was pleased to see that no one was going after Sabrina, and like you had those few clowns that were like, oh, she used a smaller ball and everything. And physics doesn't really cooperate in their brain, so you can't really come up with a logical judgment. But it was good to see them getting flamed all over the place. Yeah. So I was happy to see that there wasn't any just nastiness towards Sabrina.
I think this was the right time to do something like that because the talent in the WNBA really picked up in the last few years.
It's picking up.
There's a lot, even past Caitlyn Clarke. Juju Watkins is playing insane right now.
Paige Beckers and UConn. You can go through a long list. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that league is going to have a lot more respect to its name very soon.
Agreed.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing is that this would have been the coolest story for the WNBA and women's basketball had Caitlyn Clarke not just passed Kelsey Plum for the all-time women's score and is going to pass Pete Maravich for the all-time NCAA score, women's or men's.
Yeah.
Which, what we are seeing is what the WNBA always hoped for, and what the NBA is missing with star players that are going to take over the game in a few years. And the NBA is going to have to catch up at some point, because you're not seeing those star players in college. Yes, you get them internationally. Victor Wembanyama is a great example of what the NBA can get from Europe. But in terms of star players from the NCAA getting drafted to the NBA, you're just not seeing that in men's college hoops, and you're about to see it in women's. The interesting thing about women's basketball, though, right now, is that you can make more money in the NIL than you can getting drafted by the WNBA, which is why Paige Brickers is going to stay at UConn and why Caitlyn Clarke probably is going to stay at Iowa for another year.
Yeah.
Which I think that's going to have to be something that gets looked into. And in terms of people saying it's because the WNBA is not going to make enough money, I'm going to point out the fact that there's a new hockey league that's women playing in it. I think it's the PWHL. They just had the biggest attendance in a women's hockey game in history and sold out the arena that the Toronto Maple Leafs play in. So this is a perfect time for women's sports to be able to profit. And I think they can. You just need to wait for these star players to get there first.
Yeah, definitely.
So if she stays next year, she's going to like smash the record, right?
She'll put it out of reach almost, because Pete Maravich he holds the record all time. He only played 3 years in college.
Oh.
So he set a nearly untouchable record doing 3 years.
So she'll be going into year 4? Okay.
Probably with the record already, which is like absurd to think about. And yeah, that I've seen a lot of people saying like, Juju Watkins has a chance to get up to her because she's been I'm like, dude, that's a lot of pressure to put on a freshman right there.
Yeah.
Like, you need to relax and just let her play, because when Caitlyn Clarke was even a freshman, she wasn't being posted on SportsCenter and all that. When Caitlyn Clarke started to improve her game and grow as a player, that's when. And like, Juju Watkins is putting up insane numbers as a freshman. But we need to see the growth continue, and it's not fair to Juju to put that type of pressure on her. Like, let's just let Juju be Juju and let Caitlyn Clarke be Caitlyn Clarke.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing is that this year, in terms of how excited I am for the tournaments, obviously I'm excited for the men's. I think it's the most wide open it's been for a while outside of UConn. There was a chance to go back to back. But in terms of the women's, there's going to be so much star power, like I said. This is going to be a very open tournament. Obviously, South Carolina is undefeated right now. Probably has a really good chance of going back-to-back, same with UConn in the men's. But this is the first time in a while where I can honestly say I'm much more excited for the women's. Usually it's about split. Usually I'm more excited for the men's. But this year, I'm definitely paying more attention to the women's than I ever will to the men's.
Yeah, I actually agree. And, like, I've never actually filled out a women's bracket, but this year I'm definitely going to. I'm a huge Dawn Staley fan, so like, because she's from the area, North Philadelphia. But you go beyond her, like beyond South Carolina, like you said, Aiden. I mean, I'm just going to run through some really good teams that are underrated. I feel like North Carolina State has been putting on a really good season this year. I watched them play UNC earlier, and because I had high hopes for the UNC women's team going in. But they've kind of not fallen off the map totally, but they're not having a great year. But North Carolina State has a really, really, really good squad. And the fact that South Carolina is undefeated, and I'm looking at all the top 10, I think anyone in the top 10 could really compete with South Carolina.
Yeah.
It's going to be a really, really interesting tournament. It's going to be so competitive. And I'm with you. Like, I'm a little bit nervous for the men's tournament. I hope it's not a dunk or a Dutz, because
there's some really good men's teams that are underrated. The issue is it just doesn't have the same names that you're used to.
Yeah.
And the thing is that for a lot of, unless you're a really, really big college basketball fan and are willing to dig a little bit deeper to find teams that you like or some really cool stories, because there is a lot of really cool stories out there. You just have to look a little bit harder. Where for the women, the stories are there because it's coming from the star players. It's coming from the top programs. And there's a lot of casual college basketball fans that only look for the top players and top stories. And if you're not producing the most talented players, people are just going to ignore you until you or St. Peter's and make it to the Final Four as a nobody program. But unless you do something like that, you're just going to get completely ignored.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right about the names thing. Like, there aren't those types of names. And you think about it in college basketball and college football especially, like, a lot of the times the number one recruit coming out of high school, doesn't start or doesn't get too many minutes or as many minutes as you might think. And I think that turns people away. Like, I'll look at Justin Edwards this year. He was the number one recruit. He was supposed to have, obviously, like, a huge freshman year, and he's had a disappointing year. Now, there's a lot that goes into that, and Justin Edwards is still a really great player, but I don't think people have the patience for college basketball the way that they might for the NBA, because I think when a rookie steps on the scene in the NBA and makes a splash, like, they're talked about consistently, but in college with Justin Edwards, if he's not putting up 20 points, he's not going to get posted. Mm-hmm. So there's, like, I don't think people have the patience for college basketball, because, like, everyone's like, oh, John Calipari always needs the 5 stars, like, always needs the freshmen. Well, John Calipari hasn't had a all-freshman starting lineup in a long time, and he has been using bench players and seniors and grad transfers to help his program consistently stay near the top. And they weren't ready for, like, Justin Edwards and Rob Dillingham to, like, not see the floor all the time. And Rob Dillingham has played himself into that, but the fact that Justin Edwards hasn't, I think that's just an example of why people lose patience with college basketball.
Yeah, which to me is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I would much rather watch a college basketball game over the NBA. And I'll be honest, I follow college basketball a lot closer than I ever did to the NBA.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you on the watching. I would rather watch a college game.
And the thing is, for me, it's that, like I said, if you look even a little bit, you can find stories of guys that I will never even come close to touching the NBA, but because they're in college, they get this opportunity, and they take advantage of it.
Yep.
And the NBA is, don't get me wrong, it is great. I love the NBA. The playoffs are very, very exciting. You never really know who's going to win, especially since the end of the Warriors' crazy dynasty that they had.
Yep.
Even though they won a championship after the roundup, but that's besides the point. But to me, I love watching the NCAA because they don't have great shooters. So you have to find a way to work around that. The NBA, and we've talked about this before, how athletic everyone is now and how great shooters they all are. So it makes it almost impossible to play defense. Now, I will say that I'm reading right now Wilt 1962 about Wilt's 100-point game and what the NBA was like then. So one of the reasons why Wilt was able to do this is because they had just put in the 24-second shot clock and hadn't really adjusted defense to new wave players like Wilt. Mm-hmm. And then the NBA figured out that they needed to change their defensive rules around the 80s, which is why scoring went down. There'll probably have to be an adjustment at some point. We just haven't gotten to that point yet. But I feel like there's going to be a game that's going to get to 160 points in regulation, and then there's going to have to be adjusted rules. So I feel like that's going to come. And once it does, I feel like I'll be more tuned in to the NBA as a casual fan, rather than watching the teams I like and then watching the playoffs.
I do agree with that. I think the correction's going to come quicker than we think. Mm-hmm. I do want to do 2 really, really quick segments. Mm-hmm. I was watching First Take this morning. I like this one. Of these 3 players, Steph, KD, LeBron, who, if any, do you think will win a ring? Or most likely? Most likely.
I would, I guess I'd have to lean Durant at this point, because I think he's on the best roster at the moment. The Warriors are just kind of a mess right now and old, and it's time to flip the leaf, I think, in their respect. Lakers, kind of the same way. I think that they have I think they have a direction for the future. I don't think the Warriors really do. I think the Lakers are moving there, but having LeBron and AD aging, I don't trust them in the playoffs. Not saying that I trust the Suns either, but I think if you're going to put it up to that, which I am, I think I'd have to lean Durant, because I think the Suns have the best chance out of those 3 teams.
Okay.
I'm going to go Curry only because I think Curry's going to get traded to someone else.
Ooh. Damn. That would be amazing.
Yeah. I think the Warriors are cooked. Like, I think this is it for them.
Me too.
I do think, how many more years is Curry on contract for? Anyone know?
It's like, I think he has 3 or 4 left because I think he got an extension a year or 2 ago.
Okay, I could see him request. I don't think he's going to request out this year. Maybe not even next. Maybe the year after. So given 3 years, he gets traded, and then maybe he wins the year after he gets traded. I'm gonna lean LeBron. I don't trust the Suns because health issues. Like they've played like maybe 10 games so far.
Yeah.
So I'm ruling them out this year. I'm not ruling the Lakers out this year.
Okay.
Because LeBron and AD have been healthy all year. D'Angelo Russell has been playing amazing since he heard that he might get traded.
Yeah.
And the West, there's a lot of like pretenders at the top of the standings. Like if you look at a Thunder, I'm not going to say they're pretenders, but like they're not going to win 7 games against some of the more experienced teams in the playoffs. And Timberwolves, they're not fooling me. I don't know if they're fooling any of you, but
I'll let you get into the Clippers.
Yeah, they're not fooling me either. They are not fooling me either.
Yeah.
If Kawhi or PG go down, or actually mainly Kawhi because PG chokes as much as Harden does probably, but if Kawhi goes down, they're gonna have to lean on those two, and you can't lean on those two.
Yeah, right.
Wait, so I understand you're saying the Lakers could win the West. I don't see it happening, but I understand that argument. You really think that the Lakers are going to beat whichever team come out of the East?
No, but
you can't count out LeBron, I guess.
Right?
Hold on. You know what? Actually, who could come out of the East? The Celtics?
Celtics definitely. Knicks could.
Yeah, Knicks could. Okay, if they go up against the Knicks, I have the Lakers.
Okay.
If they actually, I think the Celtics would be a closer match of them because everyone who's seen the Celtics play far, they do drop off at a certain series in the playoffs.
Definitely.
And when they went to the finals, it just happened to be that series against the Warriors. But like, I don't think Jason Tatum has shown yet that he can be like a championship winning first option. And I don't think Jaylen Brown has shown that he could be a championship winning second option yet. However, that team is built amazingly. Best team in the league easily. Yeah. But LeBron and AD have done it, and I just would trust them more.
I don't think that's necessarily wrong. I don't think any of you are wrong. That's a really good question, though, because there are a lot of avenues that you could go. Because like Aiden goes the Curry trade route, like he thinks Curry is going to get traded. I'm just strictly going off of what's happening right now. I don't know if any of them are going to win another ring.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But
as it is constructed right now, because I hear Aiden's point. Like Curry, I definitely could see Curry getting traded this offseason. Like I could see it happening at any point, because I think I agree with what you said. They're going in the wrong direction, and they're going to have to start making changes for the future, which Curry is not going to be a part of that. But where would he go? And I mean, I know if Curry is on the trade block, there are 29 NBA teams asking about Steph Curry for a trade. I get that, but there's so much to incorporate, like what the other team is going to give up, blah blah blah. That like so for that extent, I can't. It's hard for me to say that Curry's going to win a championship. Who knows? Curry could get traded this offseason to a team, and they have a season like the Bucks with Lillard. Disappointing, not really a championship contender.
Yeah,
like at least hasn't proven that yet. So there's so much unknown in that sense. That's why I lean Durant and the Suns, because I think for now, I think that they have the best chance going up at it.
I think they...
Here's why I think Curry has the best chance of winning. And it's not because he's going to get traded in this blockbuster trade. And I looked it up. His contract expires at the end of next year because he got the extension in 2021.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
We'll be a free agent then. What I think is the most likely option for Curry's career is that he gets traded next year at the deadline in a trade that you would think teams would have to give up more. But I think what Curry's going to turn into is a guy that can come off the bench and put up 12 to 15 points easily and get you back in the game. I think he's going to come in as a specialist three-point shooter to end his career, and I don't think that's necessarily a problem for a lot of teams that could use someone to score off the bench. And given the option that if he's willing to realize that's where his career is going to go and not ask for a massive extension in 2025 or is willing to get traded next year at the deadline, he could be a really, really above-average role player where I don't think LeBron takes that step, and I think KD still wants to prove that he can lead a team to a championship.
Yeah.
Curry
Wait.
doesn't need to do that.
Aiden, have you been drinking tonight? Curry had 60 the other week. You're talking about him being a role player. He's
I think that's one more year. Think about all the injuries that he's had. Nothing's guaranteed.
You're right
I
about
don't
that.
Yes, he can put up those 60-point games, but how often is he doing that now?
Mm-hmm. And how is it leading to winning? Also, he's putting up 60 points, but I think that
it's not leading to winning on that team for obvious reasons.
But I don't think my point is I think Curry. And I don't want to diminish 60 points. 60 points is 60 points. It's incredible, but I think Curry did that because he had to score 60 points to even give them a fighting chance in the game. Where I think when he's on a contender, I think like averaging 20 to 25 is like a good mark for him, and like being in that area consistently, like that helps the championship.
Yeah,
team.
I don't know about role players.
Yeah, I don't even know about coming off the bench.
He's 35.
Yeah, LeBron's like 39 and he's still...
Wait. LeBron is one of the most in-shape players the NBA has ever seen. Curry is 6'2".
Mm-hmm.
He can't keep up the same pace that he is. We've already seen that he can't because he's getting more injured than he's ever been.
That's true.
There's no reason to trade 3 first-round picks and your star player for Steph Curry at age 36.
No, there's not. Yeah.
No, I don't think they'll get that much in return. Like maybe a couple picks, but like that's all you would want really if you're the Warriors because they draft well.
Yeah.
And like I just can't think of a team that like would actually end up getting him. It's just like a weird scenario to think about.
Yeah, I agree with you. Look, I don't know where he would go for a trade. I don't know who would be the front runner. I don't know. Cause
it was like Dame. Like who thought he was going to go to Milwaukee?
Yeah, right. And like you think, obviously the Celtics are the best team. Obviously the Celtics would be inquiring about a Curry trade. But who are they going to have to give up for Curry? And
they would have to do Jalen.
Yeah,
they would have to do Jalen.
And I think I agree with Aiden on that part where like I don't even know if I'd trade Jaylen Brown plus other assets for 36-year-old Steph Curry. I don't know if I would. I don't think so. I mean, you do have to watch how the playoffs shake out. I'll say that because I think if Brown goes through another playoffs where like he's kind of losing you series the way he did last year, like I think Brown lost the Celtics the Sixers series and the Sixers handed it right back to him, and then he lost them the Miami Heat series. I feel like because they needed that production from him and they didn't get it, and he was actually a net negative almost for them that Heat series. Mm-hmm. So
their patience is going to be really thin with him in 2 years if they don't win a championship.
Yeah, but even then, do you trade him for 36-year-old Steph Curry, or do you look another avenue?
I think they would do it. I don't think it's the right thing, but
I think
I'm really concerned about the laptop dying. So, do you guys have anything?
I'll just say quickly, love the Whit Merrifield signing for the Phillies. I'm just excited to see how that plays out for this upcoming season.
And we're going to talk about the NBA trade deadlines next week. I didn't want to do it because we're going over. But
yeah. Right. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just excited for baseball season.
Yeah. Spring training starting up this weekend. I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay, we'll see you next week.